I love when you say hashtag because you don't know even how to do that.
I have no idea what it means or what it does, but I'm hashtag blessed. I know that.
That is the truth.
Yeah.
Do you put that on? Do you put that on the Facebook or the Twitter? The hashtag.
Moving on.
Sure.
I think you can put it wherever you want.
On the Instagrams, on the
Put
TikTok,
it on the Google.
on the Google, on the iPhone.
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, you just don't want to like Sharpie it on your iPhone, but
Yeah. I would put it all over your resume.
Okay.
Just anywhere on your. Yeah.
Hashtag blessed.
Yeah.
Hashtag
we
full
get you a
squad.
hashtag blessed stamp for Christmas, so you can just.
Special skills. Hashtag blessed.
I'm gonna get that tattooed on my, the small of my back, little tramp stamp. Hashtag blessed.
I'd help pay for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's fair.
Yeah, we're prepared to we're prepared to foot the bill on that.
We might need to make this happen.
And I don't know that there's an upper limit on font size that I'm okay with.
Yeah, so just prepare to.
It'll be great.
It'll be perfect.
Y'all motherfuckers don't watch us play throughout the year, to tell you the truth. I'm gonna be real with you, and I don't care if I get fined.
That must be Jeremiah with them. Shoot me down.
That train is off the tracks.
Who doesn't love the bounty castle?
Hitler. Just prepare to. Yeah, so just prepare to be awash in undebeatable goodness.
Welcome, Pacers fans. You are listening to the Undebeatables, your semi-weekly Pacers podcast. Today is December 12th, 2021. This is episode 554. Coming to you from Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm your host, Joey Gaffrida, the man behind the dials and former season ticket holder. This show, we're going to discuss the games against Washington, New York, and Dallas. Joining me this show are all three of our analysts, coast to coast, like buttered toast. First, from the high school home of Jameson Brewer, Silver Spring, Maryland, it's the doctor, Jason Triplett.
Hashtag full squad. What's up, Pacers fans? What is up, Undebeatables? Good to have the crew all back together. Quick shout out to the Xavier Musketeers who trounced the Cincinnati Bearcats in the crosstown shootout last night.
Yeah.
20 points. Just an utter domination. Fun to watch.
Sweet. Is this right? From Moorhead City, North Carolina, he's a Red House bartender mixing up the drinks in the crappy jingles, John Colson.
What is up, Pacer Nation? What is up, Undebeatables? I heard that this place existed, and so I just showed up. And I'm going to see if it works out. I'd also like to shout out Pacer Nation. We'll get into it, but maybe one of the least satisfying sweep weeks I've ever been a part of. Spoiler alert, sorry.
And from Boise, Idaho, out west, he is fresh off of the undebeatable suspension. It's our enforcer, Sean Harper.
What is going on, fellas? Shout out. Good to be back. Good to have everybody together.
Yeah.
See you, buddy.
Absolutely. Well, hope you learned your lesson.
Nope. Can't even remember what I did.
Well, before we start the show, I'd like to remind you that this show is brought to you by you. If you head over to patreon.com/undebeatables, you can support our show for as little as $1 per month. It also gives you access to our Slack with some exclusive bonus content in the what's the channel?
It's called free paid content.
free paid content. You get all the free paid content you can get your hands on.
Now-
Next to hashtag blessed.
Right. Can I do a brief wag of my finger, Joey?
Yeah.
I am hanging out with my friend Christina, old euchre and billiards friend with Harper as well. And I was telling her about the podcast, and I said, we have thousands of listeners. And she says, "How many reviews do you have?" And I was like, "I don't know, like 50 or 60." And she was like, "How is that possible?" And I said, "I think everybody thinks somebody else is doing it. So if you listen to this show, if you love this show, if you hate this show, I mean, I'd prefer you to give us 5 stars, but go ahead and get on whatever platform you're doing. Give us a review. We have far more listeners weekly than we have reviews. So go ahead and just go ahead and pause the show right now. We'll wait for you. Go ahead and give us a little review and then come back."
Are reviews important?
I want to give you a way out of that, though. If you don't think that's for you and you still want to support us,
Send us
just
money.
head over to patreon.com/undebeatables and just give us money instead.
Yeah. I like money way more than reviews. I've literally never reviewed a podcast in my life.
Yeah. Well,
I think I reviewed our podcast.
Oh, that was good of you.
Maybe I did that like week 2.
We had a wonderful review that said that he had signed up for Spotify and couldn't find it by looking under Pacers. He had to look up the Undebeatables, and the reason that is because not enough people have reviewed us. I think that's the algorithm. We need more people reviewing us. So go ahead again. Just go ahead and pause, and we'll be back when you come back.
Okay. All right. Well, so a big week of thanks for explaining what the algorithm was to us. I appreciate that.
I don't know. I just shout out to Christina for pointing out the fact that we've been doing this for years, 9 years, and have thousands of listeners and only have 50 reviews or whatever.
A lot going on in the Pacers world. It was spoiled earlier, but there was a sweep.
Sweep.
Sweep. Other stuff going on too. So the 2 news items I guess we need to at least mention before we get into the games are Carlisle is in the health and safety protocol, and it's the not non-COVID one, and if you believe the papers, everybody has been traded or is going to be traded, and so. There's a lot going on. So there's like the Pacers are in the news a bunch this week, for both of those reasons, and then they went ahead and won all their games. So, I guess let's talk about those games first, and we'll talk about the rest of the stuff. Monday, December 6th, Pacers take on the Wizards and win 116-110. Solid contributions, of course, from Domantas Sabonis, 30 and 10. And 19 from Levert, 17 from Brogdon, and 13 from Duarte. On the Wizards side, Bradley Beal was their top dog, 34 points, and just a nice win by the Pacers, not folding down the stretch. So shout out to them for not collapsing. Wednesday, December 8th, 2021. Pacers take on the Knickerbockers at home, and they win this one. This is a bigger style in 122-102. This game was really never ends out. All 5 starters in double figures for the Pacers, 3 of them with 20 plus. Sabonis 21, Duarte high scorer 23. Miles Turner chipping in 22 of his own. Looking good this game. It's nice to beat the Knicks too. And last game of the week, this is the first one that Carlisle missed, is against his old team, the Dallas Mavericks, and we win this one 106-93. Special shout out to the Pacers to holding Dallas to 13 points in quarter 4. Sealing the victory. That game was really close most of the night, and kind of in the fourth quarters that was when it was decided. in a good way for the Pacers. So, from watching this team earlier, from being a Pacer fan this season, I thought it was going to go the other way. But they put the clamps on, scored some points, and took care of business, and got a win for the coach, who was not able to be there. Sabonis dropping 24 and 10, 7 assists, almost getting that triple double. Miles Turner 17 and 10. O'Shea Brissett with a highlight dunk. And on the Mavs side, you got Doncic putting up 27 and Porzingis with 22. So it's a sweep week for the Pacers. We should be in a good mood, right, guys?
Yay.
I thought they looked better this week. There's just so much other stuff going on. Like, there's just a lot of stuff going on. There's the questions about Carlisle, and then and then, I guess I didn't even mention that, Miles Turner had a feature about, he's
not happy.
He wants a bigger role, which, he doesn't have. So, anyway, Colson, I think you got your pulse, your finger on the pulse of all this stuff. Where do you want to start?
Well, I mean, we did sweep this week, but we beat 3 500-ish teams at our house. Like, it's not a massive victory. Coming off the week prior, when we were losing to 500-ish teams or below at our house, this felt good, but it's not a massive victory. Especially with everything going on with the team. So yes, as you mentioned, it was leaked that Karis LeVert, Miles Turner, and Domantas Sabonis are on the trading block. We're willing to move veterans for anything because we've got to switch some stuff up. And I thought this team responded to that. I mean, I don't know if Pritchard or Carlisle had the, hey, everybody's on the trading block, start playing better speech in the locker room, but we've played well this week. There was an interesting post game with Carlisle, and he said, really this has become a first quarter league, not a fourth quarter league. And what you've got to do is you've got to enforce your will in the opening of the game, and then you can just ride it out. And if we've not been able to figure out how to do that all season, and so what we're trying to do is put our stamp on the game in the first quarter and give ourselves a little breathing room in the fourth quarter. I think he's acknowledging the fact that we're bad in the fourth. But he said, this week we were able to do that, at least in those first 2 games. We got up to large leads in the first quarter against the Knicks and who we played besides the Mavericks.
The
Wizards, yeah. And, I don't know. I think it's always a fourth quarter league. It will always be that. But I think he's making some sort of statement about how you come out,
total lack of identity.
Yeah, and how you make a statement in a game, and that's and so if he's trying to communicate that could help us, and it helped us this week at least.
Yeah, I don't know. To paraphrase one Jonathan Colson, I'm not sure that Rick Carlisle knows how basketball works. Based on that quote. The reason that this team is losing basketball games is because they cannot play in the fourth quarter. Which made the Dallas win all that more impressive to me. A team that's in tumult and without their head coach goes into the final 5 minutes or 6 minutes of a game against Dallas where it's essentially tied, and then just roast Dallas. I didn't actually watch that game, but they were, to outscore a team by whatever it was, 10 or whatever down the stretch, is something that we have not seen this team do all year, and that's why we're losing games. I guess you could argue that imposing your will on both sides of the ball is worthwhile, but this team has definitely done its fair share of good work in first quarters and first halves. We score a lot of points.
Yeah, we're just terrible in the fourth quarter, as the numbers have shown.
This league, you can introduce the 3-point shot and overuse it and play small ball and all these gimmicks. The NBA is always going to be a game, a sport that is won in the last 5 minutes. That's the way the game works. Especially now, teams lose. The Pacers have lost 10 more than they've had a 10-point lead in multiple games and lost it and come back from 10. Like, that's just how the NBA works these days. So I don't know. I mean, like, yeah, I'm with you. I wasn't overly impressed. I mean, like, I watched the Wizards game in full, and
we looked good.
It was more that the Wizards didn't look stellar than the Pacers looked stellar. Like, we came out of the gate very cold in that game, but Washington was also cold and couldn't score. I thought defensively we were definitely sharper.
Right.
I will give the guys that for sure. But, Washington was playing on the second night of a back-to-back. New York was playing on the second night of a back-to-back. And Dallas is, like you said, sort of up and down. So, yeah, I don't know. But to your point about, these guys being on the trading block, that's one thing. What was more interesting to me is that this article hinted or more than implied that basically ownership was okay, or governorship was okay with a complete rebuild, which is something that the Pacers franchise just has not done and refuses to do. And so that to me is really interesting. So it's not that we're looking to trade Sabonis, Turner, and LeVert for talent that will be on the floor this year, but more so that we're looking to get assets, draft picks, basically, and do a full reboot, which is intriguing to me, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think about that.
I mean, in the big picture, it's certainly hard to get excited about a team that needed a 3-game win streak to get to 12-16, 28 games into the season.
Right.
To the extent that we're talking about trading this guys, I mean, I guess I can't help but wonder about how committed anyone really is to that. Kevin Pritchard also this week told The Atlantic that we were a team in search of a real star. He said that we had it with Paul George. He had the it factor, and so did Victor Oladipo, so we're trying to get that. But when you got, a 23-year-old two-time All-Star who's a triple-double threat every night, and Sabonis, I don't know. If you're really thinking about trading him, why are you also denigrating his game? Shouldn't you be talking up his game before trade time? So I don't know whether that's just bad execution or whether he's trying to get something out of this locker room. It's strange at best.
No, I mean, I agree with you. It's, sort of the idea is all of our veteran players that are on reasonable contracts which we don't have outrageous contracts. All of our guys are on reasonable contracts. They're all very tradable. These guys are all on the block, but we're not going to trade all three of them, right? We're going to trade both of our big guys. At the most, we'll trade two, Karis LeVert and one of the big guys, right? We're not going to trade all three of them. So it's not going to be a complete implosion. But
I mean, if we're rebuilding, we can do whatever we want.
Well,
we don't even need
for
a
sure, but I don't think
we
are though. I think this is part of a part of a light the fire under the asses, approach. Hey, look, everybody's on the block, so start playing better, get better. If you want to be here, be here. If you don't want to be here, we'll move you out. And I thought it was interesting that Miles Turner, his camp leaked that from that, which was, hey, look, I'm not happy. I want a bigger role. Like, I've been an elite role player for this team, but I want to be more. So I'm either going to do that here or I'm going to do that somewhere else. And so I don't know if that means we're going to move pieces around him to give him a bigger role, or we're going to move him to a place where he thinks he can have a bigger role. But, I mean, he's the one that came out in response to that, which was, hey, basically everybody's on the table.
I got to think that's terrible strategy from his camp. He's had a shot with this team to carve out a bigger role, has failed to do so. And when it comes time for him to get traded because he's not saying the right thing to the media, he's not going to have a choice where he ends up. So.
Oh, no, I agree. I agree that he won't have a choice.
Well played from his camp.
No, I agree. He gets no choice where he ends up. And that's the problem with that statement, right?
Well, and also it's not, it's not actually, if the point is to, light a fire into these guys, what you would want a player to say is, there's a lot more that I can do. I know that I can help this team win rather than I need more stuff. right? And maybe it's even trying to say the same thing and just, verbalized
Said
very
poorly.
poorly.
Right.
But yeah, not super impressive.
I mean, I love Miles Turner, but if he wanted more opportunity, go grab more rebounds. And he will be on the floor a lot more.
Always rebounds out there, aren't there?
Get lots of offensive rebounds and putbacks, and all of a sudden you're a 20-point scorer. Like,
Sure. You can get 8 more points a game if you just rebound harder.
Yeah. I mean, 8's a lot, but still,
Okay, 4.
Yeah. But regardless, he would get more minutes. He would have more trust of the coaching staffs, the multiples that he's been through, right? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that anything is on the table at this point. I mean, there was an interesting sort of back and forth article in The Athletic where I forget the names of all the guys, but they were going back and forth of what the Pacers should do. And I mean, it seems like they're in a position where they can listen to all the offers, but only, we don't have to do anything at this point. The logic behind that didn't make a ton of sense to me. They were like, well, they still have all these dudes under contract next year, so they can trade them next year or whatever. But in my mind, if you're going to rebuild, like, why wait a year?
Sooner
like,
would be
doesn't
better.
make any sense.
Especially when you're already this low below 500, right?
Yeah.
Closer to the worst record in the league, the better your draft pick's going to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they also made a big deal about, the waning attendance and the fact that the Pacers are last in the league in attendance. And, like, part of that is that there's no excitement around this team. Like, none of the dudes are, like, super, you can't put them on the front of a brochure and say, come see this guy dazzle you every night. They're all very solid players. I mean, Sabonis is, I think, by far our best player, but he's not a dude that is a prototypical guy that you go to see.
He doesn't play above the rim.
Right. He doesn't play above the rim. He doesn't handle the ball and create his own shot a ton necessarily. So, you might generate more. I don't know if you generate more attendance, but you definitely generate more excitement if there's like, oh, okay, we're gonna get all these draft picks and get exciting
Young
players
rookies,
to watch,
yeah.
or like some sort of way in which the team can gel and play an exciting style of basketball or whatever.
Sure. I mean, definitely dangerous with waiting attendance to blow it up and tank your season and go for draft picks, though, right? If you've got a fan base who's headed for the doors, that's not going to – I mean, I would argue that doesn't slow him down this season. It might do more to get him back next season and the season after.
Absolutely.
But there's definitely a give and take to be considered.
For sure. This whole Sabonis conversation is really interesting to me because we talked about it last week about who's the more important player, Sabonis or Miles Turner, but he is our best player, right? At least offensively, and you're right. It's hard to. He's not really become the face of the franchise, and we can't really figure out how to make Malcolm Brogdon the face of the franchise either. And we can't trade Malcolm Brogdon, so the guys that are on the block, are Sabonis, Miles Turner, and Karis LeVert, and that makes sense. I love these guys, and I don't want to get anybody traded, but it makes sense that at least it's part of the conversation.
Don't worry, you won't get anybody traded.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this on the podcast last week, I guess, that there's the thing that's missing is sort of the it factor, right? Which Pritchard alluded to. I don't know if it necessarily is like we need to get a guy like Paul George or like it's really interesting that he pointed to these guys that basically spurned us as a franchise as like the model that he wants to go get. I kind of get what he's saying. Like we need somebody that's like, makes the sum greater than the total of the parts. I'm not saying that correctly, but there's nobody on this team that is making the collection of talent go to another place. And this is, I don't know if I made this point when we were talking last week, but I thought of it later and wished I had made it a bigger point. But the thing that frustrates me, so Malcolm Brogdon, right, is basically the piece that we have to build around going forward since we signed him to this extension. And the thing that I don't know that I believe from him is, does he make the guys around him better? And I don't even mean like in a simple basketball sense, like does he create shots for guys? Like, is he making guys better? Like there's all this talk of him as like a great leader and all that stuff, but
We're not seeing it on the floor though.
I don't know that. I mean, and I don't know. Like behind the scenes, maybe they are, but it's not like I'm seeing, you know, a Chris Paul-esque like sort of mentorship of young talent, of like, you know, turning DeAndre Ayton from a stiff to a
all-star
max
Do
player.
you remember?
Whatever,
do you remember
right?
the story where when Victor Oladipo's first year, Miles Turner was having a really rough beginning of the season. He like went over to his house at like 1 a.m. Like, are we hearing any stories like that about Malcolm Brogdon? Like, is he doing that stuff?
I mean, there was a story about how they were getting together to play ball in like L.A. or something like that, and he was like spearheading that and making sure everybody was going out to dinner and stuff like that.
Okay, all
I mean,
right.
that's
fair enough.
along those lines.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't have to keep. You have to keep him for this season. You don't have to keep him forever. I mean, we re-signed to a reasonable contract. Again, we don't have unmovable contracts on this team. Everybody's available to be moved, and that's true for Brogdon as well. So it won't happen this season. But if he's not the right leader, then you know that could change. It's not like he's getting paid $45 million a year, like Russell Westbrook or John Wall or something.
It still feels like a tough position to be in for the remainder of this season, especially if, ultimately you do want your leader to be coaching guys up off the court. But what you really need is to make sure that he's lighting a fire under guys and making sure that the effort shows up on the court. And up and down the roster, we just don't have the fire guy.
One thing that we have not really talked about is Carlisle. He is out with he did test positive for COVID-19, and he's going through the protocol. I've not heard anything, that his health has been severely compromised or anything like that. But regardless, even for a mild case, he's going to be out for some time. Jason, do you think this is does this make a difference for the team at all, or does this they beat Dallas without him. The rest of the staff seems strong. I've been happy with them.
Yeah, I mean, Lloyd Pierce has head coaching experience.
He's been a head coach, yeah.
I think we're okay there. Obviously, I mean, we have sung Carlisle's praises a lot this year, and his ability to manage games and prepare his guys from game to game. I mean, the nice thing about the day, why can't I talk today? The age that we live in is that he is still in constant communication with both his staff and his players, right? Like they do Zoom meetings, and he's like you said, it's a mild case, so it's not like he's in hospital or anything like that. Like, so he's still communicating with the team and game planning, I'm sure, and all of that good stuff. So I don't think it's a major issue. Yeah. I don't think. I mean, I guess my biggest worry when the news came out was that Carlisle's the guy that's in close contact with every other member of the
for sure.
team, right? Like, so hopefully we didn't get like a rash of cases like Chicago just went through or whatever. So, and it seems like so far, obviously nobody else has tested positive, although I guess Justin Holiday was out. I don't know if he tested positive or just had a close contact or whatever, but
yeah, that can ravage a team for sure really quickly.
And I don't know, I guess I don't know how, like somebody like that, and I guess I don't understand enough about the details of the rules of the protocol, but he's the coach of the team. He was he was pretty close to everybody. You think they have practice or a game basically every day. So
Yeah, well, hopefully everybody was had the vaccine and had a little way to deal with that. At least, I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, they test, they do what the rest of the country should be able to do, is test early and often.
Right.
And so they can nip these things in the bud, before it
Keeps things from being outbreaks.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think he needs to be symptom-free and have 2 consecutive negative tests or something like that. I think he has to be out for 10 days, I think, because he's vaccinated, and then it has to be symptom-free and have negative tests and stuff like that before he can come back.
So the thing that struck me was the timing of this, which how awful it was based on all of the the media going on around about our entire team being traded. Now you've got the head coach who ideally should keep everybody on the same page, not with the team. While it really this week felt like the team was falling apart. Management's coming out and saying everybody's on the trading block, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we don't have a coach to talk them down."
So you've gone down like the conspiracy rabbit hole, right?
Which one is that?
Like that this is all a hoax. And
Oh, I see. So he doesn't actually have COVID, or no one's actually being traded. How deep should the conspiracy go?
All the way down.
Isn't this team used to dealing with adversity without a coach being involved?
Right. Exactly.
Shout out Bjorkgren.
Yeah. And I think the timing was obviously none of this is perfect, but the news, the Kravitz and Sharania article dropped before Carlisle got a positive test, so they were at practice, I think, when the article came out, and they were actively pulling. Pritchard and Carlisle were actively pulling people out of practice to talk to them and say, "Hey, look, this story's out here. Here's what's going on." And from what Pritchard is saying, they were trying to be as transparent as possible and saying, "Look, this is business." Or maybe it's what you were saying, Colson, that it's "Look, yes, get your shit together, or."
Or we will trade you. There's still a chance to turn the season around if you guys want to figure it out.
Right.
But everybody's on the block. Is anybody mad at Miles Turner?
No, I'm not mad.
I mean, I would like for him to be better, both in terms of off the court in this case and, on the court. But, I mean, I'm not mad at him. I just think there's lots of room for improvement.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah, he's been... For me, he's been the guy for basically his entire career. He's been with the Pacers the whole time. That we're always just looking to, I was hoping he was going to be, all-star level, and he's been, kind of borderline for some of the years, but is that a ringing endorsement?
So we after his first 2 years, his numbers compared almost exactly to Chris Bosh and Kevin Garnett, and so in my head, this guy was going to be a perennial all-star, and I talked him up that way. Thing is, he has become elite defensively. He is the leading shot blocker in the league almost every year. And what he's saying is no one's involving enough offensively to be that all-star. But I agree with you, Jason, that part of that is if you get some more rebounds, maybe it'd be a little bit easier to get some extra points. And last week we talked some crap to Carlisle about the reason that Domantas Sabonis might need to be traded over Miles Turner is that we're not using Sabonis correctly. And then this week, he played a lot of low post and scored well. He was given more touches. He was allowed to be more a part of the offense. But we also involved Miles Turner as well. So, part of our conversation last week was maybe these are our 2 best players. We just have to figure out how to use them better. So maybe this conversation is from the top, from the office or the leak or whatever it is not just about the players, but also about the coaching staff. Like, let's figure out how to use our two best players the right way. And maybe we'll all get on the same page, or, hey, look, everybody can be moved.
Yeah. I mean, the things that I skimmed that article, so I don't want to speak out of turn, but like the things that Turner said were factually correct.
Yeah. Oh, he's
like, I've been here for 7 years, and they keep telling me to do different things,
right.
And I am a willing participant in this.
And I've always done what they asked me to do, right?
Exactly, and like, he's kind of a victim of his circumstance. Like, he was developing normally and getting more touches, and then we trade for Sabonis, who turns out to be this like offensive savant, and so of course,
and a Victor Oladipo who needs the ball in his hands.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, we're gonna run things through these guys. Right. Like, you're very talented, Miles, but we need you to pick and pop and hit a couple threes and
he's not wrong.
Really be otherwise involved. Because we noted like the few games that Sabonis misses, like Turner steps into the Sabonis role and does a perfectly fine job. So,
he's a 25 and 12 guy when Sabonis isn't around.
Right. So, well, I don't know about the 12.
He's a 24 and 8. How about that?
He's either 24 and 8 or 8 and 4. Like, the problem is he just doesn't have a very complete offensive game. Like, he's a more comfortable jump shooter, but he can't create his own shot. He doesn't play well in the low post. Like, outside of improving the rebounding and lots of second chance points, he can certainly be more aggressive going to the rack. Right. But he's not going to be the hub of anyone's offense in this league.
No, but the thing is Sabonis, LeVert, Duarte, and Brogdon will give you the ball if you're cutting to the basket. He's surrounded by guys that are looking for cutters. So if he's more aggressive doing that, he's going to get 6 more points a game. It's just about his effort in cutting.
Yeah,
on some level.
Again, you don't probably want to wag the finger at your teammates for not getting involved, right?
Yeah, because the thing is they will. They're all very willing passers.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a good time to put a bow on this discussion. We'll be back with you on Thursday. Jason, do you have the upcoming schedule for this week?
I do. And, this year has been, I was talking to Harper beforehand, this is a week-to-week Turner corning. Turner turning.
Turner Corning.
Turner Corner?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Turner Corning is a good company.
It's also probably what Miles should be working on.
So last week was great, and so this week, who knows? The competition is definitely going to be stiff. So Monday, December 13th, the Pacers close their extensive homestand against the Golden State Warriors. That game is on NBA TV. We go back on the road to Milwaukee on Wednesday, and then a back-to-back at home versus Detroit, who we owe Detroit. One of their 4 wins on the season has come against the Pacers. And
Ugh. Well, you gotta say it like that.
And then the boys have 4 days off. So
Sweet.
plenty of time to read all of the articles about trade rumors.
Should be good.
So what are you calling?
That looks like a 1 and 2 week.
1 and 2 week. Detroit's on the second night of a back-to-back, but it is at home. Detroit's playing frisky right now. They're being frisky.
They're being frisky? They've won 4 games.
I know, but I feel like the games have been close.
How are we defining frisky?
I don't know. Everybody likes Cade Cunningham, right?
I mean, they haven't won a game since November 17th.
That means we're probably going to lose this one. I think that's what I mean by frisky.
Was that game against us?
Yes, probably.
Of course.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yay! All right, so we're going 1 and 2, which will put us at 13 and 18 going into this next week. Whee!
Colson, you got... Oh. You know what?
I'm just good at math, Joey. That's all.
Yeah. We'll be fine. You know what? I think
We'll be fine. We'll be fine.
You know what?
Everything's on fire, Joey. We're trading away our entire team. Our coach can't even be around anymore. Everything's gonna be fine. What
I got two
F
things.
are you talking about?
Here's my predictions for the week. The one is that the Pacers, they got a fire lit under them, and they're going to win all the games, so they sweep the week.
Okay.
And they're going to debut, which we had talked about years ago, is the iPad on a stick, and then Carlisle's going to be able to. He's going to be able to, coach courtside.
Okay.
Like, we talked about it doing it because of who was it?
Phil Jackson.
It was a Phil Jackson.
Phil Jackson, because he was old and didn't want to travel.
Didn't want to go on the road games, yeah.
But he did want a bunch of money to coach.
He did. So I think it's a perfect solution to the modern problems we have.
So you're saying that Miles Turner and Sabonis are now going to be the focus. They're both going to just excel under this pressure. Karis LeVert's going to excel under the pressure. And we're going to have a coach on a stick. And we're going to sweep this week.
Yes.
Okay, Joe. I like it. We're going to hold you to this prediction.
The last game I watched, they held Dallas to 13 points in the fourth quarter. And,
that is true.
That's the only data point that matters to me right now.
What happened in the last quarter?
Dallas is not very
of a quarter,
good,
which
Joey.
apparently doesn't really matter, according to our coach.
Right, according to our coach. It's more a first quarter league.
All right. Well, we'll be back with you on Thursday then. Until then, you can hit us up on social media. You can find us at our Twitter name is at Undebeatables, or you can just use #blessed and Facebook.com/The Undebeatables. Again, we are also #blessed. Website is theundebeatables.com. There's a contact form there. You can use that to send us a message. And, of course, old-fashioned email. Shout out at theundebeatables.com and store, website/store. You can get your medium t-shirts.
Old-fashioned email. Do we have an AOL account?
No, it's
the dial-up?
Yeah, it's a dial-up. That's what we have, Colson. It's a bunch of algorithms in the background. Don't worry about it.
I don't understand how the internet works. So, for the architect Donnie Walsh, who is definitely working behind the scenes right now, overtime, and our once and always Hall of Fame coach Bobby Sicklander, turn out the lights. The party is over.
Did you learn that singing style in Moosehead?
I could use some. Oh, cut me off.
You could use some singing styles?
I mean, no. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, I got bad news. You got a whole other show you got to do, buddy. So
Yeah.
Wait, this isn't our last show.
get your stuff in one pile, my man.
Yeah. Also, you're on the trading block, so step up your game.
You guys are willing passers. I'm just screwing it up.
We're looking for a real podcaster who's got that it thing, like Jason and shit.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't step up your game, you're not going to be in Moosehead.
Send you off to Lesshead. See how you like that.
It's is it like Moosehead?
Yeah, but less.
There's so many things I didn't say that episode.
I'm proud
Kudos
of
to
you,
you.
Joey.
Don't leave it on the court.
Question
Joey.
mark? Yeah. Why don't you just put it out there?
Like Colson fixed it in post,
But I never do. That's the problem.
Yeah,
right?
it's that high degree
if
of
you're gonna embarrass
confidence.
yourself, I will leave it in.
Not gonna happen.